Welcome to Backyard Bows. How's everybody doing? I'm Brandon, and today we finally have a Hoyt bow up for review. We have the RX4 Turbo from 2020. So I would love to get my hands on this year's RX7 or RX Twin Turbo, which maybe we'll have a review on one of those here soon. I went with the RX4 for a couple different reasons. So I've shot the RX3, RX4, RX5 from previous years, and I think of those 3 years, the RX4 was my personal favorite. I think it was the smoothest to draw. I think all around it was the most complete bow. I liked it the best. So we went with the Turbo series solely for the blistering speeds that it's supposed to be producing, and finally potentially getting a bow inside for a review that puts this 500 grain arrow past 290 feet per second. And I think if there's a bow to do it, this is gonna be the one. So in 2020, Hoyt came out with I loved what they did. They came out with 3 series catering to different styles of hunting and different game. They came out with an Alpha series, which was a little bit shorter brace height and axle to axle, catered more towards whitetail hunting, tree stands, blinds. And then they came out with an Ultra series, a little bit longer axle to axle, a little bit longer brace height for a more forgiving shot, for maybe longer shots you'd be taking on the side of a mountain hunting elk, sheep, something like that. And then they came out with the Turbo, and the Turbo was specifically for large game, pure kinetic energy, something to get the job done. I went with the Turbo today just for the speed test, and I went with the RX4 because that's the one I liked of those 3. So a little bit about this bow: 31 axle to axle, 6-inch brace height, 4 pounds, which is incredible. And that goes into this carbon redworks riser. So each one of those series I just mentioned, you can get it in a carbon redworks riser, or you can get it in an aluminum riser. I personally have no idea why somebody would pick an aluminum riser over a carbon redworks riser unless money was involved, because these are a fair bit more expensive. But these carbon redworks risers, this is 50 layers of high-grade carbon. It has a hollowed out inside to give it that really lightweight. I think the riser alone is maybe 1.5 pounds. Like I said, together the whole bow is only 4 pounds, which is incredible for how durable and strong these risers are. I went with the Kuiu Verde 2.0, which, if you know me, I like solid colors. I was so close to buying the Storm, because again, I'm a solid color guy, but this Kuiu Verde 2.0, I thought it was really nice. It had a ton of green in it, which sometimes you don't see. So this is one of the first camo bows I bought in a long time. But so a little bit about this bow. So let's start with the limbs. They call it a zero tolerance limb and pocket interface. I love this setup. You know, there's 2 different spots that it's a nice wide distance where it supports the limb, because man, when you get this thing in full draw, these limbs are bending almost to the point where it looks like it's going to break. So there's a lot of support up here. If you look on the inside, they have this little groove cut out of the limb, which they slide up into the limb pocket, which prevents it from sliding, you know, this way at all. But these are just on there really secure. I love what they do with their, where the limbs meet the riser. Moving to the cam system, they have that ZT Turbo Pro in there, which is going to give it these really high speeds. They have a number 3 and a number 2 cam, which gives you a little bit variance in your draw length. I have the number 3, so mine goes from 28 to 30. Something that's new to this year is they have this draw stop integrated into the cam, which also will adjust your draw length. So there's 5 notches, A through E. I have mine on D, which is 29.5. But this is nice because it gives you that nice solid back wall, and there's one on top and bottom that you can change. You know, this is what's giving it the amount of speed that this bow is going to get, is these cams. That's kind of the souped up part of this bow. I think with my 500 grain arrow, we're going to be looking at maybe 290 feet per second, which is incredible. Maybe somewhere between 290 and 295, but we'll see. So moving down, they have this dampening system here at the bottom. I love any dampening system that's located right here where these bottom limbs meet the riser. I think that's always a great spot for that, since there's so much going on down there. And that's one of the other differences between the RX4 and RX5, is they have one that comes a little bit farther out. The riser is hollowed out right here. And then the RX3, these change a little bit, but virtually between the 3 bows, the riser is completely the same. And again, I love that Hoyt does that. If it's not broke, don't fix it. They kind of make little bitty changes. but it's not enough necessarily for me to go buy a new Hoyt bow every year. I'm looking at maybe every 3 or 4 years where they really do make some good changes that catch my eye. Like I was saying maybe about this RX7 or the twin turbo. It looks like they restructured the riser a little bit and made some significant changes where I'm really excited about getting my hands on that bow. But these are so expensive. You know, this is $1,800 bow where it's really hard for me to back-to-back years be buying bows from Hoyt, especially when they're making such small changes from year to year. So let's go move up a little bit. You got this stabilizer. It could not have more dampening modules on it. Again, I think that's just to suppress some of this energy that's going to be coming from these high-speed cams. You know, there's maybe suppress the noise, the vibration. This is going to help that. I love the grips that they have on these. I love anything where companies are catering to a specific need of a bowman, and these move left and right because we all know that we all hold draw, hold, everything a slight different from each other, and you know, this plays into that. You can move them to the left, move them to the right, all depending on how you grip your bow. I love that. They did add an integrated rest system for an ultra rest, which is on the back side of here. I actually have a ripcord on here, but there is a quad rest that you can slide on there on the back side. They kind of stole that from Matthews, but that's also something that's new. And then you also got this sealed ball bearing cable guard, which is snug right to the back side of this limb on the riser here. There is no, you know, it doesn't branch out at all. It's just snug right up against there. Again, I feel like this entire bow is structured to be the most durable bow you can get. I feel already just by holding it a little bit here and there that you could drop this thing and not necessarily be worrying about it. And then I also read at some point that they, you know, maybe ran it over with a car and this thing flexed almost back to perfect shape, which is incredible. So that carbon is the highest of grade quality. I can't wait to go outside and shoot, but we're going to do things a little bit different today. We're actually going to do the chronograph testing here because I can't wait to see what speeds this thing's going to pump out, and then we'll go outside and do our single shot assessment. So a little bit backwards, but I'm just excited to see what it's going to do. It's a beautiful day outside, so we'll do the single shot assessment. We'll do our freestyle shoot. We'll get out there. We'll sling a ton of arrows through this thing. On days like today where it's so nice, I'll be out there all day shooting this, and then we'll come back in and give it that final grade. So the moment I've been waiting for, let's see what this does. It's supposed to be 350 feet per second IBO rating, which again, I never really pay much attention to those. I like to put my arrow, which is, I've hunted with a 500 grain arrow for forever. And so I've come to the conclusion that if anything gets anywhere between 280 and 300, that's what I'm looking for. I think this is going to be one of the first bows we review that's going to be above 290, but we will see. So let's put a couple through here. Again, just with that draw, you can tell. So 288. Okay, 288's great. I think let's shoot a couple. And sometimes, you know, these bows will jump around just a little bit. And let's see if we can't get this thing to give us above 290. Okay, now, so it's 287. Again, right there, and I say this all the time, I'm looking for consistency in these. I'm not necessarily looking for a huge jump in numbers, and if it does that, I'm more wondering why. And I know I've said that, but I like to be within a couple feet per second each shot. So 288, again, this, I love that. I love consistency. Let's do one more. I'm just hoping that one of these is gonna get above 290. So let's do one more. Up, 286. So right there, right under 290. I was hoping to have the first bow be above 290, but with that being said, that's extremely fast for this arrow, and that is the fastest bow that we've reviewed to date. So let's go outside and let's go have some fun. All right, so finally we get to do one of these single shot assessments outside. We got a target here. I actually bought a little bit wider target so I can really close my eyes if I want to kind of get the feeling of that bow without missing it. But I like to stand just about this far away, and we will just get purely just the feeling of the bow. And sometimes, you know, I prefer doing this with the bow not all dressed up, just a bare bow. But since we're gonna shoot some targets here after this, we'll just do it as it's set up. I'm anticipating a little bit, And like I mentioned inside, I have shot the RX3, RX4, RX5. I remember the RX4 being the smoothest of the three, but you know, still for a speedboat, it is a little bit stiff, rigid, even aggressive. But you know, when you're getting these high speeds, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere or another. So we'll take a couple shots. We'll let you know what we think here. So for a speedboat, you are getting a fairly smooth draw. With that being said, there is no let off. There's no transition. When your peak weight starts, you're pulling that all the way back until you hit the back wall almost. So, you know, but it is smooth all the way to the back, but you are having to pull pretty hard. And once it starts about right there, I mean, you're having to pull as hard as you can to get it back all the way to the back. Man, but like I said, for a bow that's going to reach these speeds that they're saying, that's an incredibly smooth draw. It's impressive that they can accomplish that at Hoyt. And I think that probably comes from their, you know, their target archery background. But this draw cycle is one of the smoother draw cycles for a high speed bow, kind of a souped up bow. And I like the way it balances. These risers to me always are a little bit funky in the way that they're shaped. And I think it probably has to do a little bit with that carbon. It's such a lightweight riser. The weight is distributed really nice. But in full draw, besides you having to really put some good effort into keeping it at full draw, it holds real nice. And it balances really nice too. So I have a feeling that this isn't going to be a bow that I can just shoot all day. The amount of effort that you're having to put in to get this thing to full draw, I think would wear you out. And not just that, but the amount of effort you're having to keep it at full draw and while you're holding it. But I also potentially see maybe at those 50 or 60 yard shots, it might be a hair difficult to really keep steady. You know, maybe we'll see some inconsistency with those longer shots, but again, we'll start shooting some of these 3D targets here in a second, and we'll be able to tell more of that. But right off the bat, again, you can tell that it's a little stiffer, a little bit more aggressive. As you're drawing it back and into the hold, you're really thinking, man, this thing's going to pump an arrow. So a little bit of sacrifice, maybe, for these speeds. But again, if you're buying this bow, the Turbo, I think that's anticipated. But yeah, I mean, this arrow is penetrating this bag over the FOC. So let's go ahead and hop up here. We'll shoot at some of these targets. We actually just bought a couple new 3D targets. I get bored pretty easily, so I got to kind of keep myself stimulated with new stuff to shoot at. So we got a coyote angling across the yard at 30, and then we actually put a doe up on top of the hill, which is at 40. And we'll get up there and we'll kind of shoot at everything here in a second. Let's put one more. All right, let's get to shooting. Like I mentioned, we added a couple targets. We got a coyote over there at 30. Up top, we got that deer at 40, and the other targets are remaining where they were. I think the best way to get yourself out and to practice as much as you can is to create a space that you're going to enjoy. And for me, that's 3D targets. I love, if I could have every Delta McKenzie animal down there, I would, and maybe someday I will. But we'll actually maybe spend a little bit more time over here than we do, and then we'll jump over there and get some of those longer range shots. I have a feeling that if there's any inconsistency in my ability to shoot this bow, it's really going to play out with some of the longer range ones. So, but we'll get after some of these little targets for a second. Spring turkey is right around the corner. I can't wait to see what this thing would do to a turkey at close quarters. I mean, these arrows, you can tell, are humming out of here. You can just tell with shooting this thing that it actually pumps some arrows. So that was a little high. Let's put another one on that buck. And again, when I do these tests, you get what I'm giving you. You know, I'm not going to sit out here and shoot these a million times. I just don't have the time. So, but I like to give you my honest videos just of me shooting, because, man, you can really tell your ability to just pick up a different bow and be able to shoot it accurately. And I think my biggest instinct with this one is that it would really take me some time to practice and to get comfortable with this. It is a little bit aggressive and rigid. It's a little hard to hold it full draw accurately. And it's very different from some of the other bows that I shoot on a regular basis. So it would just take me some time, just like anything. The more you practice, the better you're gonna get at it. So let's go ahead and jump up to that deer up top. So that doe up top is, I think, a 40 or right under, maybe 39. But that's one of the new ones I added. So I kind of wanted to get a little bit farther shots from up here, but then again, we got neighbors behind me, and I don't like shooting too far over that hillside. So I felt comfortable maybe putting it at 40, but we'll go up to that doe up top. Okay, so that one's a little high. We'll put a couple on this doe. That's better. So yeah, you do got to put a good amount of effort into kind of dialing that side end. It does want to move a little bit on you. Last one on the doe, and then we'll move over to that coyote. There we go. I'm going to give you the real first footage that we kind of get from this, and just so that you're able to see kind of, again, how someone's capable of just picking up this bow and how easily it is to shoot, or maybe that you know, that it's kind of a struggle at the beginning. You kind of got to get more familiar with it. So let's go with that coyote. These are the first shots anything's been put on that coyote, which is brand new. Okay, so there's an example right there. I'm a little bit fatigued from, you know, shooting a couple and shooting the first assessment or the single shot assessments, and just with that little bit of fatigueness, I just let off just a hair and it jumped forward on me. So that just shows you really got to put some effort into holding this thing back. Again, this bow is made to produce the highest speeds possible. That's something that's expected. I just need to be more conscious of that happening. So there's one. Occasionally I miss, you know, lose an arrow or two. I go through some full metal jackets, so see if we can't put one more good one on that coyote. So again, you can tell that this thing will wear you out. I don't think you could shoot this for a half a day. So what I'm going to do when we're done filming, I'm going to really get after it and shoot a whole bunch before we go back inside. But I'm probably going to have to take breaks in between shots. So we'll see. Let's get over to the gazebo and we'll shoot some more. So I moved that bear Now I'm just gonna check it to make sure before we start shooting. I moved that bear to the other side of that tree just to kind of space these targets out a little bit. And it's at 41. So we did add that doe that's up on top, which is 40 yards from up there, but from over here it's now at 50 and it's quartering away, which I like to challenge myself. So that's kind of probably the toughest shot I have set up out here right now, but we'll finish with that one. So we'll go bear to elk, and then we'll get over there, maybe shoot some at this coyote and doe up top. I'm not gonna lie, I had to take a little bit of a break in between from over there and over here. This thing it's tough on you. My shoulder's tired already. A lot of effort to pull it back, and even more effort, I think, to really dial it in at full draw. So let's go to that bear again, and then we'll bounce over to the elk. So, man, this bow, I am probably shooting the most inconsistent I've shot with a bow, and I say that not blaming the bow. It's me, but I am not, you know, I haven't shot this bow a ton, so I think the more and more I was to shoot it, the more comfortable it would get to me. But right off of the bat, I'm having a little bit of a hard time really putting some tight groups together. So that's a good one. Let's go ahead and move it up to the elk. Oh, the more I shoot it, the smoother this draw cycle gets. You kind of, even just with a dozen shots, you get a little bit more comfortable with it. It is a little bit more smooth. It's a nice consistent pull on the way back, but it's a smooth pull. So there we go. Now I feel like I'm adjusting a little bit, which is good. And I think here in a second, when we turn off the cameras, I'm gonna go ahead and take the rest of the afternoon and really shoot this a bunch. Probably shoot it, take a break, shoot it, take a break, and we will see. So now we'll jump over to the doe. Yeah, I would say this would be, with a particular bow that I had practiced a ton with, this would be the shot I would feel the farthest comfortable taking currently. 50 shots on a deer. If it was perfectly broadside, maybe nothing, you know, no chance of it hitting anything in between, this is a shot I'd feel comfortable taking. Maybe not with this bow, but with a different one, I would. So I'm actually going to take one step back. We'll do one outside of 60, outside the fence at 60 on the elk, just to kind of really get that longer range and see how this shoots. I'm going to wear myself out a little bit in between now and then. And again, we'll try to assimilate maybe being real tired from a hike, getting a chance on an elk at 50, 60 yards and seeing if this could produce a killer blow. So give us a second and we'll set that up. All right, so we're gonna take a step back. I purposefully worn myself out a little bit shooting, and we're gonna make an attempt with me a little gassed on that elk up there at 60 yards. I kind of wanted to see, you know, let's say you're hiking through the mountains, you got a good elk. This is just kind of my scenario I'm playing out. I'm a little tired. With this bow, am I able to place a good shot? So here we go. All right, so we took the afternoon. We actually shot this quite a bit, and the reason I might have put a little bit of extra arrows and effort into it this afternoon is because I made a comment about it being inconsistent, and I'm a firm believer that it's most likely the hunter, which is me, and not the bow in these situations. So I probably put 150 plus shots through it. I'd shoot a little bit, take a break, shoot a little bit, take a break, because it was wearing me out. But I think as I progressed through the day, I did see some changes that were significant, which we'll talk about once we get to the performance grade. So, but let's start right here at the speed. Off the top, I think it maxed out at 288 with my 500 grain arrow. I was really hoping it would break that 290 mark, but it didn't. I thought if there was a bow that had a chance, it would be this one. I think it was 286, 287, 288. So right there, in between 280 and 290, gets the full 10 points, 10 out of 10 for the speed. Next is the quality, durability. I can hands down say that not just in this bow review process or this year, but in my bow hunting career, this is the most durable bow I've come across. These carbon risers are unbelievable with strength, lightweight, durability. You can just tell that they are probably the most solid thing on the market right now. I love that the limb gets supported by 2 different anchor points on the riser. Again, I feel like I could drop this thing out of a tree and just pick it up and shoot it, no problem. Definitely hiking on a mountainside. You know, this thing could definitely be put through the test and, you know, withstand a good beating. So next we have up is the appeal. I personally am back and forth with some of the different looks that Hoyt comes out with over the years, but this one in particular, I love the simplicity of this riser. I think it looks really, really sleek. I love the Kuiu Verde 2.0, and I'm not even a camo colored guy. I really like solid colors, but this bow just, I mean, it definitely catches your eye. And I know I've said this, it doesn't really play into the success of a hunt, but if you're like me, and I would assume 60 to 70% of you out there in the audience is probably that plays into a factor of you purchasing a bow is if it catches your eye and if you're attracted to that bow. So a 9 out of 10 for the appeal. Moving right along, you know, the tech that goes into these when considering the riser, the 50 layers of carbon that go into these redworks risers, the technology is incredible that they can get such a lightweight, strong riser. Even the cam system to be able to produce such high speeds is pretty impressive. Other than that, it's a very basic and very simple bow. So I gave it an 8 out of 10 for the technology. And then the last category, performance. So if I would have gave it a grade right when I first started shooting it, I might have given it an 8, but by the end of the 4 or 5 hour period where I shot this bow a ton, I'm now gonna give it a 9 out of 10. And I'll explain that is, first, if you're gonna buy a turbo or a really high speed bow, you need to know and anticipate that you're gonna give and take some things. You can't get such high speeds without giving somewhere. And most of the time it's gonna be in the draw cycle and the hold. And so with that being said, for such a bow that produces such high speeds, the draw cycle is, I would say, as smooth as you can get it. And again, I've shot the RX3, the RX4, the RX5. The RX4 seems to be the smoothest of the 3. You know, and the hold is what it is. The longer I shot the bow and the more familiar and comfortable it got to me, the more accurate my groupings were and the better I got progressively through the day. So it just takes a little bit of practice. But if you're buying this bow for a particular hunt, to give you that kinetic energy that it's gonna give you, you just need to work with it a little bit more and maybe practice a little bit more with it, because it is tough at times to kind of hold in full draw. So yeah, after giving it the 9 out of 10 for the performance, the total all, you know, grade is a 46 out of 50. I'm actually going to give it that one extra makeup point with the price tag. You would be able to purchase this for, you know, I think it's about $1,800 brand new, so it only gets to make up 1 point. So 47 out of 50 gives it a 94 overall rating. I'm really excited maybe get my hands on that twin turbo that came out this year. The 3, the 4, and the 5, all very similar. Didn't get me back into a bow shop, but man, if I can come up with that money somewhere, I am definitely interested in that twin turbo or the RX7. It looks like they made some good significant changes. The riser seems to be a little bit different and a little bit more goes into those bows. So if I can get my hands on one, we'll do a review on that next. I do know we have a Hoyt Venom Pro 33 in the lineup, a couple bows down, so that'll be the next Hoyt bow we do, which I'm really excited about that bow as well. Again, don't purchase a bow off of a single bow review. These are just to kind of guide you and help you make some decisions. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you found something in the video that you thought was helpful for your bow buying process, please give us a like. If you want to see more of our reviews, subscribe to the channel. We have lots more to come. We have tons more bows in our lineup. You can also follow us on Instagram to get updates. Make sure you get your reps in. We'll see you next time.